I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What is up, Afterlife fans? Welcome to the After Show where we discuss everything Afterlife. I'm your host and moderator, Gabriela Castanilla, and today we will be discussing Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4, but I cannot do it alone. Right beside me is my beautiful co-host who has all the insights. Ashman, how are you doing? Are you ready to talk about these episodes?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to do this with you again. Yeah, you and I are matching with our colors. So, you got two co-hosts that are on the same page and ready to deliver. So excited.
Yes, and there is so much to talk about. So let's quickly go over what we're going to discuss. First, we're going to talk about Sandy's birthday, which is not so happy for her. Emma and Tony and Simone, their love triangle, the Gazette's future and what it's supposed to look like or going to look like, the interesting dynamic of the therapist, of Matt and Tony's therapist, Pat and Roxy's adorable date, Tony taking both Sandy and Kath for tea, but then him getting emotional, even though he was supposed to help them, and Tony finally breaking down for Anne and showing his real side of how he is doing, an update on his emotional state, and Tony saving the paper. And then we will get into some news and gossip and do again some trivia, hopefully, which I'll do good at again. And that's about it. So let's get into the episode. What are your overall thoughts of the episode 3 and 4?
They were so good. I'm like really enjoying seeing more and more of the characters' development and stories. Like starting off with Tony, we are seeing such a more like compassionate and softer and caring side about him. Whereas in season one, he was just really mad and grumpy at the world and everyone all the time. And in season 3 and 4, I mean, he really keeps inserting himself, whether he's being a good friend, a good colleague, like anywhere he can help, even though it's something he doesn't want to do, he's showing up for people and he's being really kind. So that's been interesting to see overall. And like you said, we kick off with Sandy's birthday. Like we see Sandy's home life. She's under so much pressure. She's like the mom, the daughter, the housewife, like she's everything. And we see a inside look at her home life, and then she goes to work, and it's like her work is her support team. They wish her happy birthday, like she feels good at the Gazette. And it was so interesting to see everyone be there for her. So I loved seeing that.
Yeah, like you said, I agree. Tony, is completely breaking down his walls. And I think the facade of him being so happy all the time is going away. And, we kind of did wonder if that was a genuine feeling, if he was actually getting better or if he was hiding something. And also, just like you said, the character development is just so much fun. And to see more of Sandy and, to learn that, her mom is disabled and, there's her home life is a lot more complicated than we expected. That's great to see because I love her character. And let's go to Sandy's birthday. Yeah, I mean, she is not happy to turn 30, not because, she said of her age, just because of what's going on in her life, which she feels like is not a lot. What do you think about her feelings?
I feel sorry for her. Like, I think being 30 and having so much of your life living for other people and not having much going on for yourself would take a toll on everyone. Like, she's trying to be that great daughter, she's trying to be that great sister to her siblings, but for herself, all she really has is her work. Like, that's the only thing that's for her. So I felt bad to see how down she really was about it, and especially the birthday present. The birthday present was so sad.
A
Like
mop,
they got
a
a
mop,
a
and something else.
mop.
Yeah, like
Like exactly.
I
I
think
know.
that just shows the dynamic of her parents' relationship and where she's at in her life as far as her home life of her being almost the parental figure, and that sucks for her 30th birthday. That is such a terrible gift. Yeah, it broke my heart. It was so sad because she's so sweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it was really nice to see Tony step up and instantly, like, she wasn't at work for more than 5 minutes, and he's like, let's go get some coffee. Like, you don't have to sit here. Like, let's at least go talk and kind of get into celebration mode. And they had a great chat over coffee. She was able to express herself. And I think it's also good for Tony to keep hearing that other people have problems and things that they're going through as well. For the longest time, he just felt like he was in this all alone, and that's why he was mad at the world. So I think it's good. Like he's showing up for people, but in return, it's also helping him out as well because one, he feels good for helping other people, and two, he's not alone in this. Like everyone's going through something. And of course, I love the birthday cake scene.
Oh
That
God.
was fantastic.
Yeah, going really quick, back to what you said. I think he is taking on the role like he said he was going to in the first episode of the season. Like, I'm gonna try and help people, and that's his goal, this time around. But also that scene where they do go get coffee, and it is supposed to be about Sandy. And number one, she says, "I'm sorry for saying just be happy," because she wants him to be happy. Like, she realizes that's not so easy, for everyone to just be happy all the time, especially in such a hard situation. Now she understands. I feel like she's always had an idea, but especially right now. Also, you see Tony get so emotional, just about Lisa, and that, gosh, whenever he chokes up, seeing Ricky Gervais like choke up like his, because he's a comedian, and then when you
Mhm.
see his character just get so choked up instantly, you're just like, damn, it's such great acting. I don't know, it just shows you how important Lisa was and where he's at as far as emotionally getting over her. But yeah, that cake, and I loved, to go back to the cake, when James says, "Is there going to be cake?" And then all of a sudden Lenny goes, "Is there going to be cake? I'm serious. Is there going to be cake?" And then Tony just laughs. I love Tony's laugh. That was great. That cake scene, you think it lightened everything up and kind of made her birthday, you know?
It totally did. I mean, she wasn't expecting a cake, and they brought her a cake. They sung her happy birthday. She got to blow out a candle. And as a result, although everyone was still so down, Tony threw the cake on her, and then it turned into a cake fight, and everybody started laughing. And, I think that's important at times. It's like, at times you just have to laugh at life. Like you don't know what's going on, but humor can go a long way. And we certainly seen that demonstrated like in that birthday scene over there.
Yeah, I think
Beautiful.
Tone. Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and I think Sandy's a special person in Tony's life now. And let's talk about another special person in Tony's life, Emma, the nurse. And let's talk about the love triangle with Emma and Simone and Tony now. I mean, you see Tony walk in and she's flirting with, the guy, and he almost like confronts him or like interrogates him, like, "Why are you here so much? Like, what are your intentions?" But not, directly saying that. What are your feelings towards that new guy?
I'm really enjoying this scene. Tony, Simon, and Emma. I think it's great. I mean, I think the Simon is really forward. He's not wasting any time with Emma. Tony's still on the fence because, he's grieving and he's not sure how to process, especially pursue a new relationship. But I think Emma is so great because she keeps reassuring Tony that, I'm not into him the way that I'm into you, but she's like, you're not available, correct? And she keeps kind of trying to tell him that I'm into you, but I'm not sure this is what you want. And I'm not going to wait forever. So I feel like she's kind of trying to make him a little bit more competitive and step it up a little bit. But at the same time, this Simon guy, I mean, he's just sizing him up 100%. He's like,
Oh
look,
yeah.
like, I'm fine. I'm ready to go. And as a result, he took her out on a date and Emma went. And she made a point of saying that it was just drinks this time, but it may not be the next time. And that was
Yeah.
very, very clear from her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm totally enjoying it.
I feel so bad for his character sometimes, just because I know, like, he likes her so much, but then it's like he probably feels that guilt about Lisa too. It might not just be, you're still not over her, but you might feel a little bit guilty, even though Lisa said in a video, "I want you to move on and I want you to be happy." It's, how do you really, take that and do it? So I agree. I think it's a great dynamic, the love triangle. I think it adds a whole nother element to the show. And I think it's a good way to push Tony, like you said, the last episode. Another thing that I really liked, because I love cats, but I also love sweet people like this, the cat lady, I think was super important. I think it was, I don't know. I felt like after watching, each of these people they interview, by now I might be late to the game, but I caught on to the fact that each of these people they're interviewing has to deal with Tony and where he's at in that episode, in that, in that day. So like the cat lady, talks about, her husband that passed away, and her daughter that passed away, and she acts like she's happy and she acts like it's about the cats, but Tony realizes no, it's like it's about, she's super lonely. And I don't know, I think that's important because that's how Tony's feeling, and he's starting to feel empathetic towards people and realize, damn, they're going through things like similar to me, and she needs a hug. What did you think when he gave her that hug?
I thought it was beautiful. Like, you're absolutely right. His compassion is growing per person that he encounters, and we see that with just about everybody that he's dealing with. And for me, that moment was kind of like, everyone in that town is feeling some level of a loss. I feel like the commonality in all these characters we're seeing is there's this emptiness. And I think that's for everybody, right? Like, we don't know what is empty. For some people it's relationship, for other people it's I don't know, there is career, like whatever it may be. But for the cat lady, like, she was totally grieving in her own way. She lost her husband first, then her daughter, and that's when she developed this sense which she believes that she can talk to cats. But
Yeah.
I think in truth, right, obviously it's her loneliness, like that's her way of having someone to communicate with. And I feel like as Tony looks at these people, whether it was the 100-year-old in the last episode or the cat lady in this one, he's like, that can potentially be me. So it's like any opportunity he can to make something a little bit lighter or happier for somebody, he's taking that, because tomorrow is not promised, and all any of us really have is the moment. So it's really interesting to see him just insert himself more, no matter with whoever he encounters.
Right. Like last season, there was no way he would go and give someone he was
No
interviewing a
way.
hug. He didn't even want to hear any of their silly, what he calls silly stories. So
Yeah.
I thought it was so nice that he found the true meaning, because even Lenny was like, she's happy enough. And he's like, no, man, she's lonely like I
Yeah.
am. And, she deserves a hug and some real contact, some human contact, and to talk to people. That's what this is about.
Totally.
I don't know. I think his character is developing so nicely. A character that is going through it bad right now is Matt, especially with the paper, the Gazette losing its lease. And how do you feel about? I was completely taken back. I was not expecting that. I mean, I guess when it rains, it pours, right? Poor Matt.
Yeah, I mean, the Danbury Gazette is the glue of that place. That's where everybody goes, right? That's Matt's place, Lenny's place, Tony's place, Sandy's place. It goes on. So, and for the community, it's like that's where everyone kind of gets to relate with one another. So to hear that that was at jeopardy, it was sad, because Matt is almost losing everything he loves. He loves his wife, he loves the paper, and so that was shocking to hear. But at the same time, I loved how sometimes it almost takes losing something to really appreciate what you have. And I feel like we saw
Absolutely.
that in the episode, right? Like, everyone gathered together after Sandy's breakdown, and they were like, we need to save this paper. What do we need to do? They realized how important it is. And I think it was a good wake up call. And I think the guy, Paul, the local newspaper owner, he's definitely reasonable. I'm glad he's not a complete shady character yet. He was open to the possibility of it being saved. So that was cool.
Yeah, I was not expecting Sandy to have such a breakdown in front of Tony and being like, we need to save this type of thing. That really got to me. I felt so bad for her and Matt. But it, like you said, it is nice that everyone's coming together and, trying to come up with all these crazy ideas on how they could save the paper. It's going to be a hard task, but Tony making that promise to Sandy was a lot too. That's a big deal. Saying, I'm going to save it. That's a lot to put on your shoulders. He's already dealing with so much. And then to say you're going to save a paper when, I don't know. It's just such a big task to me. What did you feel about that
I
promise
was
when you heard that?
surprised. I was surprised he did that. I mean, I thought he would say something like, I promise you we will do our best, right? But
Yeah,
to sit there and say, I promise, I agree. He has too much going on to feel guilty about not delivering to anyone. So I think he I think he bit more than he can chew by saying that one, but we'll see. I mean, he did end up having that talk with Paul, and it seems to be going in the right direction. But yeah, I think he extended himself a little too much over there.
Yeah, it was definitely like a darker part of, their episode for Matt and Sandy. But a lighter part of the episode was Pat and Roxy, or Daphne's date, which was one of my favorite scenes to watch. They are so compatible and cute. I don't know. What did you think?
Totally. They are so compatible, so quirky, so cute in the same way. And I thought they were darling. I mean, starting off with Pat, I love how he's such a gentleman. I love how he's not judging her for being a sex worker. Like off the bat, he's just kind of like, I think you're out of my league. Like that was so sweet, right? Like he's
Yeah.
just totally into her for her. And I just thought it was cute. They were both nervous, but they both enjoyed their meal, each other's company. And Pat took the bill as well, which was really cool. Like Tony had told him, he's like, you may want to split the bill. And Daphne was awesome. And she's like, I can take care of half. And he just remained a gentleman the entire date. And he's like, no, I'll take care of it. You could do it next time. Like, will there be a next time? And in his own way, he was trying to flirt and set up the second date, but they were just darling, darling, darling.
Yeah, it was so cute when Tony told him like, "Oh, she's a sex worker," and he's like, "Okay, like that's good. That's good to know. I don't care." That just shows you though how like nice of a person he is, and
Yeah.
like you said, he's such a gentleman, but he's so blunt and honest, and that's what makes him charming. He says, things, but not to be mean, but just to be so honest. And he was totally honest about himself, about losing weight and his body, just like everything. It was so nice, and I think Daphne Roxy saw that and was just completely charmed by him. And
Totally.
and that breakfast scene, that awkward breakfast scene when they're in Tony's house, just completely proves my point of they have no boundaries with him. They are the same person, and they're like, "Oh, just pass. Can I have the toast? Pass the toast." I don't know.
100%. 100%. The
If
morning
they
after
don't,
was the best.
yeah, I was gonna say if they don't get married, I'm going to be very upset because they are each a version of themselves. Like they're the same person. They're just totally
Absolutely.
compatible.
I mean, the day after, they're both at his door. She's at the back door. He's at the front door. They both want to know, hey, do you want to know what happened at the date? And they not are they only so similar, but they have the same relationship to Tony. Like they come in and, like you said, they
Yeah.
both took a piece of his toast and they're sitting next to him. And it was. I agree. That is a couple that we need to see like continue to grow and develop because they well, what a great match. What a great match.
There are a couple of my favorite characters, I do have to say. Just they're just so charming and sweet. They
Yeah.
come from a rough background and they go through a lot in life, and I think they completely make Tony a better person, like we said, the last episode. So I'm excited to see how their characters develop.
Totally.
Speaking of Tony, again, I want to talk about how he got emotional for both Kath and Sandy, when he took them for coffee. It was about them. It was he's doing his duty of what he told Anne he was going to do and try and help people. But now he's getting emotional himself by the end of the talk. It's like he's almost talking like as to a therapist and working through his emotions, but it's still helping them. How did you feel when you saw him crying? Both of those times he cried, and both of them said thank you for sharing. So, how do you feel about those scenes?
I think it's interesting seeing him get emotional. We've seen him be angry for so long that it's interesting to see him release and let it out. And I mean, I'm really happy for him. And I agree. He is such an amazing actor that when he shifts his roles, they're so heartfelt. It's just, he's so captivating in how he performs that you can really feel emotion in it. And I absolutely felt that, whether he was talking to Kath or Anne. It's like anytime he shows his emotion, it's coming from a real place and a deep place. And I think I'm glad that he's allowing himself to cry. It's healthy
Right.
for him. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's helping, the people around him, showing, how, it's okay to get like this, or it's okay to get embarrassed, or okay to, it's
Right.
just, he's being vulnerable is the word I would say,
Totally.
towards Kath, who he says, you annoy me every single day. The last season when he goes, you annoy me every single day. Thank you. And, I felt so bad she got denied by Matt. I mean, do you think they're ever going to go on a date? Do you think Matt's going to get back with his wife? What are your predictions for that?
Well, I think that triangle's interesting as well, and where we see competition heating up. Like Kath is totally making her move on Matt. And in that cake scene, right? She was the first one to start cleaning him off. And
I thought that was great.
she took her chance to touch him. And he was very reserved. He was like, no, Kat, I'm fine. Like, quit touching me. And I love how forward she is. I love how blunt she is. When she went to go ask him out on that date, and he's like, I need to check my calendar. And she's like, it's right there. Like,
Yeah.
open up the page, take a look. Like, you don't need to wait to tell me. And I feel like he was considering it because he feels like he needs to go out with another woman. But again, the competition stepped in, his wife, Jill.
Got
When,
so mad. Got so mad and irritated so quickly. I was like, of course, a typical one. I would get mad too. I'd be like, no, we're going. But
yeah, but I love that. I mean, I think it's necessary. That push is necessary. It's like Jill was reserved and she's like, "Oh no, I'm not going to go out with you." And he was kind enough to say, "Hey, Kat asked me I may go with her." She was not having it. She jumped on it and she was like, "You're not going with her. You're going with your wife and your child." And
yeah.
so and I like seeing Matt get happy about that again because all he really wants is his family. So I'm glad Jill stepped up, and I hope we start seeing more of a union of that family coming back together. And on that, how cute is George? George is so much
Oh,
bigger
yeah.
now.
George is so much bigger. I love him so much. And, it broke my heart when Tony was walking by the school and, he asked him if his parents were getting divorced. That broke my heart. But again, Tony saving the day, like always, and
Yeah,
saying, you can take advantage of this situation, dude. Like, it's fine. Just make the best of it. And either way, they're still your parents. Because before, I don't think he would have been so nice about it, even though, it seemed like he had a soft spot for George. But George seemed better after that. He went to go play with the old bully. Now he's not a bully anymore, but the old
no.
bully. I love
Yeah.
that. I love his character so much. And I also wanted to bring up Matt going to the therapist, and you wanted to talk about, the therapist, how interesting he is,
I
and
don't like the therapist. He's so I mean, he's so what's the word? He's so selfish. He's so like he's such a jerk. He really
he,
is. And
yeah.
that bar scene, how immature was that?
I honestly was making a stank face the whole time the boys were together. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand Matt, like you were talking about, Matt feels he needs to get out a little bit. And so he considered, going out to a bar but that whole scene with the boys, I was just like, oh God, I can't I agree with you. His character is just too much for me. Too selfish.
Yeah.
The worst therapist ever. I don't why do they still why do they continue to
Worst
go?
one.
Yeah. I don't understand why they continue to
Exactly.
go.
Exactly. He uses his time totally. And like they're paying the money and he uses the time to not only talk about himself, but talk about things that are so irrelevant. And then we seen him, like you said, in that bar scene. I mean, come on now. He released all confidentiality, their business, pointing out who was who. And I'm like, this guy is just such a jerk in every single way. And I
Every
mean,
way.
I don't know.
The
I
grades
hope he
women
loses
does
his
everything.
clients. Everything.
I know. I hope he loses them too. I get you got to have that one character that's not so likable, but
Of
man,
course.
he's the worst. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll change. Maybe we'll see his
Who
character
knows?
change.
Yeah.
We have a
Maybe
couple
he'll have
more
his own
episodes.
epiphany, right? Yes, yes.
That would be great. And something that really got to me and made me tear up. I cry easily, but this show makes me cry especially. Is Tony, opening up to Anne and finally, tearing away that facade of I'm happy, I'm gonna change the world, I'm gonna turn my life, around. And just says it's all a facade. I'm actually miserable. I'm fake happy in front of people, and then this is me when I go home. And I thought that was such a turning point for his character because he's acknowledging his feelings. He does have wine with him now. He's still drinking, but he's at least, going the difference is he's not going home and watching a video. He's going to talk to someone who he can, you know, express himself to and get all those emotions out. And I feel like that's helping his character. What do you think?
Yeah, well, like he still is watching the videos, but at least he's speaking about those emotions
Right.
now. Before he was just internalizing everything in himself and just feeling awful, right? But now at least he's speaking about it. And something that I didn't pick up on because I thought so much of his pain was all around grieving, right? Like losing his wife. But I didn't know how guilty he felt as he was talking to Anne in the end. He's like, I should have said this to her. I should have loved her more. I should have, you know, so guilt will kill you in a whole nother way. And I thought that was interesting that he had so much of that still remaining within him. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's not wasting his moment with anybody, whether it's to give them a hug, give them a pep talk, make somebody smile, because he's feeling so much of that guilt. And now his wife is gone. He can't do anything about it. And I like the good thing is I feel like the wife knew. She knew how much he loves her and just what their relationship was. So I think she was able to keep pouring love into him, but unfortunately, he's like, I had so much more to give her, and now I'll never be able to give her. So that was
Yeah.
sad. Sad, but very real. Yeah.
Absolutely. And through these couple episodes, you hear him say, dance. If you find someone, dance with them when they want to dance.
Yes.
And I just miss being around her, just doing nothing with her, just doing
Right.
nothing with Lisa, and I don't know. I'm just loving his character opening up and acknowledging his feelings and going through them each step of the way. I mean, I think I hope that it's going to get better, not as much of the alcohol and, things to turn to like that and more of the, talking and expressing himself like how he is. And I want to talk about him saving the paper for right now. I mean,
Yeah.
that talk with, what it was, the newspaper owner,
Yeah, Paul.
Paul, yeah. Talking to Paul and, telling everyone that they're telling him that everyone he works with is a good person and how he impacts their life. I just thought that was so awesome. And he was really sticking to his word, like he said to Sandy, I'm gonna try to save it. So what did you think?
I thought it was so sweet also, and I thought it was funny. He's like, this is the nicest and the saddest bunch of people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Because
I was like,
everybody
oh,
has
that's true.
yes, because everybody is sad about something. Like the Gazette is their home. Like that's where everybody goes. And I thought he did just such a sincere job of telling him why it was so important for them to save that paper, because it's more than just a career. It's more than writing. Like that's that's like a second home. And again,
Yeah.
I like Paul so far. He was definitely open to it, and he was like, well, we'll see. And I get where Paul is coming from also, because he's like, you know, life is not promised. And he's an older gentleman. He's like, I don't want to miss the opportunity to cash out on this. So he's kind of in his own predicament. But he seems like he's a good person. So we'll see how they raise some new funds to save the paper. Hopefully it stays saved.
Or some interesting columns. The columns that they were suggesting were hilarious. I was like, oh God, they're gonna turn into one of those gossip magazines, the cheaper
A
gossip
tabloid.
magazines. Yeah, a tabloid. Oh man. But yeah, I like Paul and I see where he's coming from. And he's smart. He wants to live his, retirement the best way he can, but he's also listening to Tony, and I thought that was super special. Speaking of
Totally.
gossip and magazines, what's some news that you have for us?
Yeah. Well,
AfterBuzz TV
talk
News.
about Ricky, and he gave an interview to British GQ, right? Obviously, everybody loves him. He's phenomenal, amazing actor, writer, director. I mean, he is all over this. He is the creator of this show, and again, like dark humor in this way. It's not even that dark. Like I think it's more like there's dark issues that he deals with, but he has such a way of telling this story. So in his interview, people asked him, hey, what can we expect out of season 2? Where do you see this going? What are your thoughts about it? And pretty much he's like, in the new season, there's 10 characters who could be the lead in something. And I think that's why we're seeing all these new stories develop, because where his vision is, he's like, big things are going to stick. Like there's not just going to be secondary characters here. So he gave us a bit of a tease. 10 characters could be the lead in something. And he said the first season was really about establishing a central character, but truly there's like sky's the limit for all the characters that are already existing and the new ones still being introduced. So I think we got a lot to look forward to, and he is really optimistic about what he's creating. And we're certainly enjoying it. I mean, it's getting better and better. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think he is a genius for creating a show like this. It's something that's not like many shows on, Netflix or Hulu or any of the platforms, really. It's such a good show. And I think he's right when he says, there's so many characters that could play a main part. That's why it's so hard to talk about every single character, in such a short amount of time, because like you said, there's such a special development with all of them. I'm a huge fan of all of them except for the therapist, but I know he has to be there. I appreciate the character. I appreciate what he does and, the commentary. But yeah, I think that article is super cool. That's awesome. That was great. So now, do you want to play our special segment where we do a quiz, a little trivia?
Yes, I'm going to keep testing your skills since you did so well in the first one.
I get so nervous. I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
You're going to do great. Okay, so we see new characters being developed, right? But also introduced to season 2. But out of these characters, we're going to find out who has worked with Ricky Gervais before. So the question is, which cast member worked with Ricky Gervais before? A, Peter Egan, who plays Paul. Paul is the local business owner. B, Colin Halt, who plays Ken. He's the musical director of that whole theater thing. Or C, Charlie Wand, who plays Simon, the competitor in the Emma situation.
I'm going to say B.
Colin Halt?
Yeah.
You're killing it. That is absolutely correct. Yes. He has worked with Ricky Gervais before on Derek and Life's Too Short. So they go way back. And yeah, he knows the drill when it comes to Ricky.
That's awesome. I was completely guessing, but I you know what it was? I just loved his character. I had a feeling. I don't know, his comedy seems very in, Ricky's, area, I guess you could say, or realm. But yeah, his character is so interesting. That's another guy, man. You're just like, oh God, what is he saying? And you feel so bad for Sandy that she's stuck there and having to listen to all of his stories. They're freaking hilarious. Totally. I love it.
Yeah. So I have one more question for you. And this is, when did season 2 start shooting? And the reason for asking it took about a year for all of this to come about and premiere again. So question again, when did season 2 start shooting? A, July of 2019, B, September 2019, or C, January 2020?
I'm going to say
A, July of 2019?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't get this one, my friend.
Okay.
But it was close. It was still very close. September 2019.
Okay.
Producer Charlie Hansen had confirmed that date. So yeah, they started in September and wrapped up production, and here we are today. That's it for trivia on my side.
Was super great content, I might add. That's in such a short amount of time. That was awesome. Thank you for those questions. I mean, I'm doing pretty good. I would say I'm doing pretty good still on the trivia.
You're doing great. 3 out of 4. You're doing fantastic.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to add? Any of the characters, any funny parts that you wanted to talk about overall?
I think we've done a great job covering episode 3 and 4. I think we've highlighted and touched just about on everybody.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below what your opinions are on episode 3 and 4. Where can people find you, Ashman?
Sure, you can find me on Instagram at Insights by Ish.
Okay, great. And people can find me at Instagram at Gabriela Castania and on Twitter, Gabby Castania. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll buzz you later.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.